Well, good morning, and thank you so much for tuning into the Weather Network. Our live storm watch coverage continues. I'm Michelle Mackey, joining you right now. We're in Vaughan at a service station just off the 400, and it is not only cold, but it is snowy right now in the city of Toronto and throughout the GTA, feeling like minus 11 when we factor in those northwesterly winds. So you're going to need to dress for the cold, but you're also going to need to dress for the snow. Yes, it is certainly starting to accumulate. By the evening, we are going to be seeing 15 centimeters of snow. The bulk of that will be falling before 1 p.m. and unfortunately, that coincides with your Thursday morning commute. So if you're just getting out of bed now, you may want to rush through, get ready a little bit faster because you're certainly going to need some extra time for your morning commute. Really slow conditions on the way here. It's messy, and we want you to go slow and safe rather than fast and story. All right, I'll throw it back inside to Emily and Tom.
Thanks so much, Michelle. She looks great out there, all bundled up, and that's the way you need to dress for today. Okay, we've got her. Let's throw to her. How, Michelle? How's it going?
You know what? It's cold. It's wintry. I know we're still technically in the...
All right, well, we're trying. We're trying really hard. I do have someone else to throw to, though. I do have a backup. I do have a plan B. We're going to check in with Michelle in just a little while, but first, the mess on the roads. Tom Reynolds knows all about that.
On plan B right here and right now.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Weather Network as our live storm watch coverage continues. My name is Michelle Mackey, joining you from Vaughan. We're just off the 400, and I can tell you conditions on the highway very slow. I'll get to that in just a moment, but first I want to tell you about the temperatures. -5 right now in the city of Toronto, but when we factor in those northwesterly winds, it's feeling closer to -11. So yes, you will need to dress for the cold, but you're also going to need to dress for the snow. By the end of the day, we're looking at upwards of 15 centimeters of snow. This is the first significant snowfall of the season, and also the majority of that snow is going to be falling before that 1 p.m. mark, and that just happens to coincide with our morning commute. So already slow going on the 400 and through our major routes heading into Toronto, so you're definitely going to need to add a little bit of extra time. It's slow going, messy conditions, but you know what? It's better to go safe, to go slow, and be safe. If you don't have your snow tires on, that is especially pertinent to you. All right, I'll throw it back inside.
Thanks so much, Michelle. She looks great all bundled up, and that's exactly how you need to dress today.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Weather Network. Our live storm watch coverage continues. My name is Michelle Mackey, joining you this morning from Vaughan. I'm just off Highway 400, and I can tell you driving conditions are an absolute mess. So, of course, we have this nor'easter that has brought all of this snow, cold temperatures as well through the city of Toronto, -5, feeling like -11 with that wind chill. So dress for the cold and dress for the snow. Snow pants, snow boots, you're going to need it all today. And also, I want to talk about how the snow feels. It's quite light and it's blowing. So when we factor in those northwesterly winds sustained around the 20-kilometer mark, we see lots of blowing snow. So that is not good for visibility on the roads. Tom's going to have your traffic update shortly, but now here's Emily with more on your weather story.
On the roads.
Good morning. Thank you so much for tuning into the Weather Network as our live storm watch coverage continues. My name is Michelle Mackey, joining you from Vaughan. I'm just off Highway 400, where driving conditions are absolutely treacherous. Very slow going. I'll talk more about that in a moment. But first, let's talk about what you need to wear today. With temperatures at -5, feeling more like -11 with those northwesterly winds, you're going to need to dress for the cold. You're also going to need to dress for the snow. So snow pants, snow boots, packing the kids with plenty of warm winter gear, highly recommended for today. Now back to that drive, very slow conditions through the GTA. We're off the 400 right now. In the southbound lanes, it's looking more like a parking lot rather than a highway. Very slow going, so give yourself some extra time for your drive into work or to drop the kids off, and make sure you've got plenty of washer fluid. You're going to need it, and also a snow brush. Make sure you snow your entire car off before heading out onto the road. All right, here's Emily with your weather story. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Weather Network as our live storm watch coverage continues. My name's Michelle Mackey, joining you from Vaughan. I'm just off of the 400 highway where driving conditions are absolutely horrible. Very slow going. Of course, we've got lots of snow this morning, more on the way for the afternoon, and cold conditions, so you're going to need to dress for the cold and for the snow. And I have a very special guest. I am joined by Raul. Now, you are a firefighter. I understand this is a very busy time of year for you.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and why is that?
Because once the snow hits something like this, people get all crazy and they don't know what to do, and they're not used to it, they're not ready for it, and if they're not prepared, then once one accident hits, everything just snowballs, pardon the pun, and accidents happen.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll send it back inside with more on your weather story. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the Weather Network as our live storm watch coverage continues. My name's Michelle Mackey, joining you this morning from Vaughan. I'm just off Highway 400. Driving conditions with all of this falling snow and blowing snow, absolutely treacherous. And it's also quite cold, below seasonal. In the city of Toronto, we're at -5, but when we factor in those strong northwesterly winds, it's feeling closer to -11. So you're definitely going to need to dress for the cold, but also the snow. So in terms of our driving conditions, very slow going. You're definitely going to want to give yourself a little bit of extra time on that morning commute. I would show you Highway 400 that's just beside me right now, but you actually can't see it from where I am. That's how poor the visibility is. So you combine falling snow, slick roads, plus the wind creating all of that blowing snow. Very nasty conditions. So please stay safe on the roads. Tom will be with you in just a moment with your traffic report. But first, here's Emily with your weather story. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Weather Network as our live storm watch coverage continues. I'm Michelle Mackey, joining you from Vaughan. We're just off Highway 400 where driving conditions are an absolute mess. I'll get to that in just a moment. But first, let's talk temperatures. Very cold start to the day in Toronto, sitting at -5. But when we factor in those strong northwesterly winds, it's feeling closer to -12. So we're well below that seasonal average of 3 degrees. So you're going to need to dress for the cold, but you're also going to need to dress for the snow. So I've got my snow pants, my snow boots, full gear on, and also driving conditions really poor. We've already got about 5 to 8 centimeters of snow on the ground, and because it is so cold, it's quite dusty. So when we couple in that blowing snow, that means visibility is quite poor. Tom will update you in just a moment with your traffic report, but first, here's Emily with your weather story. Good morning, and thank you so much for tuning into the Weather Network as our live storm watch coverage continues. I'm Michelle Mackey, joining you in Vaughan. We're just off Highway 400 where it is treacherous driving conditions, very slow going, and it's a very cold start to the day as well, sitting at -5 in the city of Toronto. But when we factor in those northwesterly winds, it's feeling closer to -12. So we're well below that seasonal average. You're going to need to dress for the cold, bundle up, and also dress for the snow. I've got my snow pants on, I've got my snow boots on, everything in full force today. Of course, this is the first significant snowfall of the season, so drivers being cautious, rightfully so, taking it very slow on the roads. You can see the southbound traffic behind me looking more like a parking lot rather than a highway. Tom will update you more with that in just a moment, and I do want to point out as well there are several bus cancellations and school closures throughout the GTA, so check online to make sure that your kids can head into school safely and on time. All right, here's Emily with more on your weather story. Well, good morning, and thank you so much for tuning into the Weather Network as our live storm watch.
Right now, we've got a bit of a technical problem. We'll update that situation for you coming up. But right now, look at this red line. It is just jammed.